Well, let's go live to Brussels now and the leader of the Liberal Democrats, Tim Farron. Mr Farron, what are you doing in Brussels? Shouldn't you be in Parliament today?
Well, I'm here today. I will be in Parliament later on to vote against the government and the Labour Party's stitch-up, which seems to accept that the British people get told what kind of deal that they get rather than actually having the final say. But I'm here in Brussels this morning meeting with Guy Verhofstadt, who is the leader of the Liberals in the European Parliament, but perhaps more significantly for us at the moment is the lead negotiator from the European Parliament side. And it's been really interesting just to hear the kind of warmth there still is for the United Kingdom here, and also to talk about what triggering Article 50 might look like, whether it could be revocable, and also getting real clear clarification that the European Parliament will, under every circumstance, have a final vote on the terms of the deal from the Brussels side. All the more important that we in Britain have the same right too.
OK, now I want to talk about Europe in a moment, but I do want to ask you about this ruling from the Electoral Commission this morning. Sure. It says, this is about the Liberal Democrats, our investigation uncovered systematic failures ensuring that the rules were being followed. This experienced party failed to meet the basic requirements of the law, undermining voters' confidence in our political finance system. Do you accept this ruling that you didn't account for nearly £200,000 and are going to have to pay a £20,000 fine?
Well, I've not seen the report, but of course I've seen what you've just set out. And it seems to me, first of all, it's massively important for all political parties, us in particular, to make sure we are completely compliant when it comes to full and timely submission of expenses returns. And it looks like...
Which you didn't do.
A small number of local accounting units failed to do that, and we totally accept that. So we're now working with the Electoral Commission to make sure we change our processes and practices so that nothing like this happens again. It's right, the Electoral Commission should be this muscular. That's what we've been asking for some time. So
you are going to accept this and pay the fine?
Yes, absolutely.
Have you got the money? Because you've only got until December the 12th to come up with 20 grand. Have you got it?
We have the money, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is that you subject yourself to the rules and that British politics is seen to be open and clear. It's very clear to me that a small number of local accounting units have failed, as the Electoral Commission have pointed out. We accept that. We're going to work with them to make sure this doesn't happen again.
And how worried are you by this reference to the Metropolitan Police of a possible criminal offence that a campaigns officer knowingly or recklessly signed a false declaration in relation to the above spending?
And on a legal matter, I'm not going to comment upon that, but certainly on the fine that's been levied against us in terms of the failure of local accounting units, we are going to fully comply with that, and we accept, like all parties should, and other parties have also obviously been called out by the Electoral Commission for different failings. It's really important that we're all subject to electoral law and we comply.
Now, back on the European matter, you say you're going to come back to vote against the government tonight. Why is that? Do you not want the British people to have the plans and principles disclosed before Article 50 is triggered?
Well, what Theresa May has achieved is to get the Labour Party to wave a white flag, it would appear, because almost every word of the motion that will now almost certainly be agreed by Parliament today has been written by and approved by Theresa May, and it essentially says that we trigger Article 50. Indeed, but it's not. I would have assumed that a proper opposition would have challenged her slightly more effectively than this. They've given in to her timetable, and all they've really done is asked that she might share and disclose some of her plans in advance of that being discussed in the run-up to March. Our view is simply this, and I've been saying this to Guy Verhofstadt here today, that with all due respect to Guy Verhofstadt and Theresa May, neither of them have the right to stitch up a deal and impose it on the British people without the British people having the final say. And we're very clear about that. And given that both the Labour and Conservative motions today are both saying to the British people, you will get what we give you and you will like it or lump it, that is not democracy. We believe whether you voted leave or remain in June, that's irrelevant to me. What is massively relevant to me is that the British people should have the right to have closure, democratic closure at the end of this process, not have a stitch-up forced upon them.
It sounds like you're still fighting the battle of the referendum, still trying to reverse it and keep Britain in the EU.
Well, I'm fighting to keep Britain, open, tolerant, united and connected with the continent that we are clearly part of, whether we are in or out of the European Union. Fundamentally, though, I'm fighting for everybody in the United Kingdom to have the chance to have their say on the terms of the deal. It's every chance that we're going to end up with a deal that maybe 75% of the British people don't like. However, they voted last June, something that will be imposed upon them, whether it be a hard Brexit that we fear or a softer version of Brexit that some people will think that they didn't vote for. You know as well as I do that the real fear I've got is that Britain will not be at peace with itself at the end of this, because it will be seen that Brussels bureaucrats and British bureaucrats together will have stitched up a deal enforced upon the British people, and the people will just have to accept it. That is not democracy. That's no way to end this process. It began with democracy in June. It must not end with a stitch-up at some point in the next 2 years. That's why we'll vote against the government tonight.
Mr. Farron, thank you for joining us.